Good evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. Tonight, we're going to be talking about our future, where we will be so many years from now. We talk a lot about the future of Cambodia. We talk a lot about where Cambodia will be. But I think Cambodia as a country will be nowhere without the future of its own people. And I had the pleasure to have with me today Robert Elliott, who is the CEO of Manulife. And it's an interesting topic because we talk about life insurance and how life insurance has an impact, if managed well, in the future of the Cambodian people. And ultimately, if everybody is doing fine, then it's also the health and the future of the country as well. So, Robert, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Robert, before we start, I thought I'd give you a few minutes just to let you warm up and introduce yourself a bit to the audience.
Sure, okay. Well, my name's Robert Elliott. I was born in Ireland, Northern Ireland. I was actually brought up in Southeast Asia. My parents moved to Malaysia in the mid-50s.
That long?
Yeah. They lived in Malaysia for about 30 years. My father was in tin mining. So my early childhood was in this part of the world, Southeast Asia. And I went to boarding school in the UK. So I'm married and have two grown-up children.
And when did you enter the life insurance business?
Right. Well, I entered the life insurance business. I actually joined Manulife in 1980 in the UK.
Wow.
So
that is more than 30 years ago.
Yeah. So it's a great company. And life insurance is a fascinating industry, and it's one that I have a real passion for. And I'm delighted to be here in Cambodia as one of the first companies to be operating in this new market.
Manulife is all over Phnom Penh, I must say. You see the promotion, everything, and I think it's quite a sight because people start to wonder, what is Manulife? What is Manulife? But anyway, when did Manulife came to Cambodia, or at least get the license to operate in the Cambodian market?
We got the license to operate in June 2012, which actually was the anniversary of our 125th year. Manulife was founded in 1887 in Toronto.
In Toronto, so it's a Canadian company.
It's a Canadian company, and after only 10 years, Manulife opened in Asia. So in 1897, Manulife opened its first offices in Hong Kong and in Shanghai.
Interesting.
And it has had this 116-year history in Asia.
Wow.
And now we operate in Cambodia will be our 7th ASEAN country.
Is that right?
And we're also, as I said, in China, Japan, Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, and now in Cambodia.
What motivated the decision to come to Cambodia?
Well, Cambodia was opening up, or is opening up, and we had very successfully developed our business in other ASEAN countries. We went into Vietnam, I think about 13 years ago.
That long already?
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And in the ASEAN countries, our target market really is the emerging middle class. People who are beginning to become more financially independent, who want to be able to plan for their future.
Okay.
And we could see that the growth of Cambodia, that there was going to be this emerging middle class who could afford products that Manulife could offer. So that's what attracted us to come here. And I've been very pleased with how we've been received and the help and guidance we've got from MEF, and also the staff that we've managed to bring into the company, because they're learning very, very quickly about the life insurance industry.
Well, Robert, I'm very pleased because in a way it has a lot of relation to the day when I was negotiating the accession to WTO, and the opening the financial sector
Yes.
is one of the area that we were asked by our negotiating partner, to say, look, you have to open certain sector, but then we find that, okay, from the banking and the financial sector, what are the area that we should open,
Yes.
and how fast we should open, and what are the policy, the regulation, because ultimately, it had to serve a national purpose.
Yes.
It had to serve of course, the industry, but ultimately there have to be some benefit into the economy as a whole.
Yes.
And I'm just glad that 10 years later, because we finished a negotiation, we entered in 2004. Now we're in 2013, and already we see a thriving financial sector already.
Yes.
And I'm glad to see that Manya Life have taken up this opportunity to step in. But having said that, I think ultimately it is the benefit of the people that will draw from your presence in Cambodia.
Yes.
What sort of product that you consider that will have an impact on them, particularly on the emerging
Yes.
middle class?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. That's a very good question. First of all, we've got some simple products, and what we try to get people to understand is the amount of income they're potentially going to earn over their lifetime.
Yes.
Because most of us don't think in terms of how long we're going to work for and how much we're actually going to earn.
Okay.
But so we have products that will protect
Yes.
that income into the future.
Okay.
So if somebody's earning, say, $5,000 a year, over 10 years they'll earn 50,000. Over 20 years they'll earn 100,000. Now, for the main breadwinner, you're actually spending that money on your family. You're paying for the mortgage, you're paying for your rent, you're paying for food, you're paying for fuel. If something was to happen, those bills don't disappear. Those bills actually stay in place. So nobody says, because something has happened to you, the main breadwinner, don't worry about the bills. That doesn't happen. So we have a product that will actually ensure that all those bills are paid for for the length of time that you, the breadwinner, wants it to happen for. So if you want to be insured for 50,000, you can say, right, I'd like a policy that runs for 10 years or 15 years and covers that liability.
So this is the basic,
Yeah.
instrument that you have now. Any other instrument that you are contemplating introducing to the market?
We've also introduced a savings policy.
Okay.
And what that does is that combines protecting your long-term income as well as building up savings for you into the future. So to me, this is the perfect product, because the first thing is you want to protect your future income, but at the same time, the vast majority of us are going to live. And so when we get 10, 15 years from now, we will have things that we will want to spend our money on. For example, children's education.
Okay.
This is really, really important.
Yes, yes.
We're launching an education policy which combines the protection of the individual and at the same time gives them enough money to pay for their children's education into the future.
So it's quite creative in the sense that you're providing some sort of safety for the livelihood of the family, on one side, but then you're combining with also a possibility that if that bread earner is alive, he also have the possibility to also enjoy the fruit of his savings, for example.
Yeah, I do think that's very important, and I think for Cambodia, there is a very young population. And unlike the West, whereby we have an aging population,
yes, indeed.
So we have a lot of people over the age of 65 who are no longer working, but they are a burden on the taxpayer and the state. And if people had planned 30 or 40 years ago to actually have systematic savings so they would build up enough capital to be financially independent. If they could go back, they would do that.
Yeah, yeah. But Robert, let me, since you mentioned about the you know, Europe or the West a bit, how this, what you call it, the top-heavy, you know, pyramid,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Because normally when you, in a developing country, you have sort of like a reverse pyramid.
Yes.
The workers, a lot of workers working to earn,
yeah.
you know, while in
yeah.
the West,
Yeah.
I think it's the same is true for Japan.
Yes,
You have
yeah.
more aging people
Yes.
on the
Yeah.
top
Yes.
who are not working,
Yes.
but still
Yes.
receive money.
Yes.
And I think also medicine is very expensive.
Yeah.
You live longer, but then there are lesser people who work there. In that context, how do they, you know, how do the state provide for them, and how do they as an individual care for themselves
Yeah.
if they don't have, you know,
Yeah,
plan
yeah.
30 years ago?
Well, it's very difficult for the state, you know, so they have to raise taxes to actually pay
Okay.
for the long-term care of its aging population.
Yes.
And for the individual, they start to, you know, lose their dignity because they are very dependent
Yes.
on the state actually looking after them.
You're
and
right.
as medical science develops, there are cures and people will live longer.
Bingo. It's clear.
So the lessons from the experience in the West is that a country like Cambodia, where we have an industry which is just starting, that can really help provide a long-term solution. And that is, you know, to get people to focus on putting a small amount of money away today,
Yes.
building it up over 10, 15, 20, 25 years,
Yeah.
and so that if anything was to happen to them, that money then goes to their family.
Yeah.
That money is spent in the economy. So
What do you mean by spend the economy?
well, Manulife pays out millions of dollars every year in Asia
Yeah.
to policies that mature
Yeah.
or claims from our customers. When those families get that money, they spend it.
Okay.
You know, they're buying things.
Yes.
They're buying property.
consume.
And so they
Yeah.
consume,
Yeah.
and so that has a very beneficial effect. But it's targeted. It's going to the right people because it's the people who need it the most.
Yes, yes.
I mean, the definition of a good investment is the one that pays out the most when you need it the most. So a life insurance policy where somebody puts that money away in
Yes.
the unlikely event that something would happen
Yes,
to them.
yes.
If something did happen to them,
Yeah.
it pays out. And that, to me, is a great investment for that family.
Yeah.
But going forward, it's actually really to build up that financial independence for that individual to pay for the lifestyle that they want when they actually retire. Because, you know, people will spend maybe 30 years in retirement.
30 years in retirement.
Well, you
Amazing.
know, I mean, it's not unusual for people to live to 90.
Yeah, you're right. You're
So,
right.
you know, if you retire at 60 or 65,
Yes.
you're going to be spending quite a long time.
And where would that income coming from if you're not planning?
Exactly, exactly.
Yes,
And that's really where, you know, planning for that is so important.
Cambodia is an emerging economy, you know. The last 4 or 5 years we see that steady growth and it reflects throughout the city, even now to the major provincial town where you see a booming economy, mostly in agriculture. But trade is also quite strong. You mentioned a country like Vietnam and other countries in ASEAN. You know, we are emerging. But still, we are still a least developed country. We're looking next 4 or 5 years to become a lower middle income country. What is the experience of other countries in the region that you can sort of look back and say, well, Cambodia today is like, you know, 10 years ago?
Right. That is a really good question.
And what's their learning curve?
Right. That is a really good question. And of course, I think every country is unique and it has its unique needs. Before I got to Cambodia, somebody said to me, oh, Cambodia is like Vietnam maybe 15 years ago. But 15 years ago, they didn't have iPhones and they didn't have iPads. So when I got here, I thought, well, this is very interesting because all the young people are very familiar with the technology. So it is different, and it's learning extremely fast. But some of the similarities are that our industry has grown very fast in those countries because people started to see the need for protecting their long-term income. When you don't have anything, you don't have anything to protect.
Yeah.
But when you actually start to enjoy the benefits of a thriving economy and you have the opportunity to express yourself and to become financially independent, then you really want to try and protect that as best you can, because you're bringing your family up to a standard of living that maybe you didn't have.
Yes.
And you want to make sure
Exactly.
that that actually is maintained. So we have learnt a lot of lessons. In some ways, I'm in a good position in my company that I can predict to some degree what products will become more relevant as we go on this mutual journey together of discovery into the needs of Cambodian people. So yes, I can look at when we brought out our education policies in those countries, when we started developing pension plans, which is something that really I'm alluding to when I'm talking about people becoming financially independent. So Manulife, with its 116-year history, and this is a strong, reliable, forward-thinking and trustworthy company. So we're very proud of our values, and we can pull on, and I have the support of all those other countries, because they're always very keen to know that how's Cambodia going, and is there things we can do to help. And we're able to learn from our ASEAN experience and then translate that into our business here in Cambodia.
The Cambodian government is currently working on its long-term vision 2030, and I'm part of that drafting process with the government, with the development partner in the World Bank, ADB, IMF, UN agency, and we did a lot of brainstorming too. And at the end of the day, the question that we asked that, look, 20 years down the road, right, where do we want to see Cambodia be? What sort of Cambodia we want that Cambodia to be, right? And I was asked to moderate the session, a few weeks ago, and and I look back, I say, okay, we are in 2013. Cambodia have the peace process and our first, full government in 1993. We're looking backward 20 years, and we see the progress of the country moving from rehabilitation of purely infrastructure rehabilitation, just to get clean water, decent road, less blackout, and then you move gradually to a development mode. Now we're in a stage that we're going to project 20 years down the road. Where will the Cambodia be? For the first time in a policy document, we start to talk about not least developed country, which normally most government would, in the past, would use that word, right? And Cambodia is the least developed country. Now we start to use the word, we are emerging market. We are emerging economy. And what we want is to, not just to have pure growth, but we want inclusive growth. We want an equitable growth. We want a growth that will benefit the people, right? And these are the soul-searching process. Say, what sort of policy we have to put in place? Industrial policy, we're going to introduce that, right? Because we see the emergence of this massive injection of foreign investment into industrial setting, right? The people will be working in those settings. They'll be working in higher paying job. Because when they start, assembling car, assembling motorcycle or iPad, iPhone or Galaxy, Samsung, they will have income. And to me, as you said, the more people feel that they have something to protect, the more they start to think. Right? And to me, nothing is worse than having somebody who have nothing to lose. So, 20 years down the road, where do you see Cambodia in terms of this, young labor force? How do you see they protect their, their future, their income
Yes.
I like when you
Yeah.
mentioned about education. But
Yeah.
what other possibility you think?
Yeah. Well, I think education is really important, and the thing that I've been very impressed with
Yeah.
is that we have recruited, 70 staff now into our head office
Yes.
here in Cambodia, and they are learning very, very quickly, and we are developing actuaries. So these are the first actuaries.
What is actuaries?
Right, that's a good question. Now, I'm not an actuary, but
Yeah.
actuaries really are people who design our financial products. They do things called pricing, risk management. They work out probability.
I see.
So, I mean, for example, what is the probability of a 25-year-old dying against the probability of a 75-year-old dying?
Yes.
So you and I can see actually
Yes.
it's more likely that the 75-year-old
Yeah.
would die before
Yeah.
the 25-year-old. So actuaries work all that stuff out, and so that people's premiums then can be calculated.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's always surprising to me how cheap things like life insurance are, because for a 30-year-old who wanted to buy, say, $30,000 policy,
Yes.
the cost of that is less than $1 a day. So he'd be putting in $1 a day to ensure that his family got $30,000 back. So education and building up our financial people, the actuaries, and we want to invest in helping train and develop and grow our people.
So in terms of capacity building, there's a requirement that, of course, by the state Ministry of Finance, that the company, help build the capacity.
Yes. Yes.
But then internally, you also see the will, the strong passion to learn, right? How do you see this staff? How well they're doing?
Well, they're doing very well. First of all, Cambodians have got great linguistic skills. Really, I mean, their ability to speak English, French, some speak Japanese because, many of them went to Japanese universities. And so, and obviously Khmer. And so their skills at learning are very, very impressive. And so, we have no hesitation at all in investing further into our business here in Cambodia. The other thing that we also need to do is that we want to reach out to the public to help educate them on the value and role of our industry in Cambodia. Because, there's a number of things I think that people need to feel comfortable with. If they're going to give us their hard-earned money, they want to know they can trust. They can trust the company, that it will do what it says it's going to do, that it will stand by its policies. And, I would say to people that if they can get the chance to come along to one of our seminars, because we run what we call education seminars.
I see.
Most weeks.
Is that right?
Yep. We will.
At the headquarters?
We do it at the headquarters. We also do it in hotels.
Okay.
And it's really an opportunity to, and it's in Khmer, so we do it in Khmer, and we explain the role of life insurance and how it actually helps you achieve the goals that you want to do. If you want to become financially independent, how you can plan for that, at the same time protecting your family. And I get a lot of questions at those meetings around how does it work, the question around trust.
Yes. How do you answer when they ask you about trust?
Yeah, I mean, trust is something that, obviously we have to earn. We are very fortunate at Manulife in that we have this long history. So, the company, as I said earlier, was established 126 years ago, but it's been operating in Asia for 116 years. So we are in most of the ASEAN countries, and during that 116-year period, we have seen world wars, we have seen financial crises, we have seen all kinds of things. And Manulife has stayed. It has stayed. and it has stood by its policyholders, and it has paid out. So that to me is just something, a message that I want to get across to people, that, Manulife
You're here to stay.
Yes. We're here to stay, and Cambodia for me is like because to be honest, I'd never been here until my first visit in May, when the company first talked to me about becoming the GM here. And I really didn't know what to expect. You know, I remember when I was a student reading about Cambodia and how, you know, the problems
Yes.
and the history. But it was just such a great surprise, you know, that what a vibrant place it is. And so I had no hesitation, my wife and I had no hesitation in saying, yes, you know, we really are in for this. And as I've met more and more people, you know, everyone's very friendly, very open. And there's an energy about Phnom Penh and Cambodia, which is really fabulous. You know, that people do really want to get on, get ahead. I mean, if the traffic is anything to go by,
it's a good gauge. It's a good
things
gauge.
are obviously going extremely well. And so, you know, building up the trust is really, I think, through our staff, our branding. We're trying, you know, to reach out to people to, number one, get familiar with us, and number two, what do we actually do?
Yes.
And, you know, we're in the business of helping you, you know, fulfill your financial goals.
Robert, we're coming to the end of the show, and I want to give you perhaps an opportunity to have one last message to the audience. What do you want them to remember from this dialogue here?
Well, I'd like to just say to the Cambodian people that, you know, life insurance and Manulife will play a great part, can play a great part in helping you with your long-term financial planning. Whether or not it's for the education of your children, or to protect your family's immediate needs, or to help you plan your financial independence into the future, Manulife would be delighted to help you with that. If you get an opportunity to attend one of our educational seminars, or to have a meeting with one of our sales advisors, please take that opportunity. And, you know, and if anybody ever wants to contact me, you know, please feel free to do so, because I really love this industry with a passion. I work for a great company, one that I've been associated with for over 30 years. And it's a strong, reliable, forward-thinking and trustworthy company, and one that I'm very proud of. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. On behalf of the studio and the audience, let me just say thank you for coming to share with us your perspective on the future of Cambodia, the value of education, the value of protecting your family, and making the right decision of, you know, committing, you know, your today's saving for the betterment of your family in the future. So thank you.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, for me, what I got from this short dialogue is that it's something that when we negotiated the WTO accession 10 years ago, we talked theoretically about the development of the financial sector, the banking sector. We talk about, of course, about insurance, but more in terms of property, in terms of fire, in terms of casualty, because something that we can see that we need every day, that it will affect the life of people every day. Life insurance is a little bit different in the sense that, you know, it requires a certain level of growth, prosperity, you know, the rise of middle income, the way of thinking. So I would say, you know, having Robert today to discuss on a topic on life insurance, about the future, about the saving, about education for our kids, it's psychologically so important in the sense that we are not talking now about a Cambodian that is just struggling to keep food on the table. In terms of Maslow hierarchy of need, we are beyond that. Cambodia, to a large extent, we are beyond this basic security, that basic safety. We are now in position, you know, to think in the future, of our children, of our next generation. And if there's an indicator of that prosperity, is that the Cambodian middle class now in position to buy life insurance, to talk about life insurance, to talk about education of their kids. And this is something that I have to put in a larger perspective, that in all this year that the Royal Government in Cambodia has been working so hard to bring peace, stability, and prosperity to the country. This is something that we should not sort of like neglect, that without peace and stability we will not have development. Without development we will not have prosperity. And for a country that have gone through crisis, genocide, civil war for nearly 2-3 decades, this is something that we should cherish. And so on that note, I wish you all a nice evening. Good night.